Hello everyone, I'm Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to discuss the News Today articles for 10th October. Right. So in today's News Today edition, we are going to cover 5 important articles in holistic details. The article includes the article like Prime Minister of UK paid official visit to India. So there has been a recent free trade agreement that have been signed between India and UK. So now in that particular case, the Prime Minister of UK came to India along with the largest trade delegation in order to conclude a lot of deals. So in that particular case, we are going to see what were the outcomes in that specific regard. The next article is regarding the China curbs the rare earth mineral export. So roughly from last 3 to 4 months since when the policies of tariff war or the trade war was initiated by the President of the United States, there have been retaliation by different countries, specifically and more predominantly by China. And in that case, China curbed the supply of the rare earth element. They have not banned, they have curbed. That means you need to now get more and more license wala thing, and that means there will be comparatively issue as far as ensuring the supply chain of minerals are concerned. That's why again when there have been further push towards these particular curbings are there in order to prevent the supplies of certain rare earth elements or certain other elements. In that case, we are going to discuss about this article. The next one is regarding the India's national red list roadmap for 2025-30. So you might have heard regarding the IUCN in the context of the red list for the species, right, which highlights the categories of species in the threatened category or otherwise also, right? So in that case, India itself is preparing its inventory in order to include all of the Indian species, because many such species are not included as a part of the IUCN network. That's why it is much needed initiative, right? The next one is regarding the surrogacy age related articles. So the Supreme Court has said that the surrogacy age bar is not retrospective, right? So the act with respect to the surrogacy came in 2021, implemented from 2022 onwards, and there were certain people who might have initiated the process of surrogacy, but then in that case there was this particular amendment that came in 2021, because of which there were certain legal issues. So in that case, Supreme Court now clarified that the surrogacy age bar will not be the retrospective one. Who have initiated the process earlier, that will be valid. Last in this is the issue with the federal environmental governance. So a few days back we have discussed an article regarding the Kerala government, which have put forward the amendment to the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So since wildlife is a part of the concurrent list, so state can also amend this, right? So in that sense, when there have been an amendment that was proposed and that is providing a lot power to the chief wildlife warden, in that case, the environment related federal structure is going to get disrupted, and we are going to see that what are the issues in this specific article. Then there are certain quick updates in that the places in news we are going to discuss regarding Australia. Already multiple times we have discussed regarding Australia. We'll see again this, and then there are certain other quick updates that we are going to see. So let's start the discussion with the very first article regarding the Prime Minister of India and the UK affirms the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Now see, here you are seeing the term the comprehensive strategic partnership. Generally, you are seeing the terms like strategic partnership, comprehensive strategic partnership, or any other words that are included along with the strategic partnership. So when we are talking about strategic partnership, it's not only about in the political domain, it's not only about the economic domain, it's not only we are talking about the cultural domain. It is the holistic 360-degree partnership, which includes even those specific sectors which are considered as the strategically important, whether it is defense, whether it is technology, whether it is critical minerals, whether it is anything, including the cultural, economic, political, the conventional ones, right? So the strategic partnership is beyond the normal partnership, going beyond one or two domain. It is comprehensively talking about multi-domain partnership between two countries. Now, talking about the importance of this article from the UPSC examination perspective in the syllabus GS paper 2 in international relations, the bilateral, regional and the global groupings and the agreements involving India and the affecting India's interests. So there have been recently the free trade agreement that have been signed. Now the purpose of free trade agreement in order to boost the trade relationship between these two countries. So right now they are having the trade of roughly 58 or 59 billion dollar between them as per the latest data. Now the target is to double it by 2030. That means there will be boost as far as the trade between goods is concerned, the service related trade is concerned, the mobility of the people. All these are the intended targets as far as the comprehensive economic trade agreement is concerned between these two countries, which is India and UK. Now that particular free trade agreement that was enacted few months back, but now what is happening that there have been one of the largest trade delegation which is having more than 125 representatives from the corporates, from the government, from different other stakeholders. They arrived in India along with the British Prime Minister, and then there are chances that this is going to boost the cooperation between two countries, whether it is economic, whether it is any other type of cooperation including cultural, right? So that's why this article again becomes very important. Now, whatever we have discussed, that the free trade agreement, whether it is going to boost the bilateral trade between these two countries, right? So because it is reducing the tariff which is applied as far as the international transactions are concerned. Now when we are talking about, let's say कि India के roughly 100% products or 100% trade by volume is going to get the tariff free access in UK. Simultaneously from UK to India also roughly 90% by volume is going to get the reduced tariff, which includes even the luxury products. So all these are going to be the benefits of the free trade agreement. Now talking about the outcome of this 2-day visit, which is of 8th and 9th of October, there are following outcomes that let's see one by one. The first important outcome in this particular context is regarding the technology and the innovation. Now see, there have been already a technology security initiative TSI in order to boost the partnership between these two countries regarding the technological sharing. So this includes the technology, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is any other type of technology, which is going to be the technology for the future. So regarding that, both the countries are cooperating. Now what have been added further into this? So they have also talked about the connectivity and the innovation center. Now in the connectivity and innovation center, specific focus has been provided in order to boost the communication networks, and in communication networks also specifically they are talking about the 6G, because right now this is there in the experimental stage and then there will be certain technological demonstrations. So this India UK Connectivity and Innovation Center specifically will talk about the communication networks like 6G and other type of open and other network related platforms. Next is UK India critical mineral supply chain. Now we have already discussed about supply chain. That means to ensure from the extraction of that mineral to the supply in the market and also in the form of the finished product, that includes in the supply chain. So there is India UK critical mineral supply chain observatory that is also created as part of this particular meetings ka outcome, right? So this critical mineral supply chain is going to ensure that whatever disruptive practices are going on from the side of China or from the side of any other country as far as the disruption of the critical mineral supply chain is concerned, these two countries are going to collaborate for the sharing of the important and the critical mineral. This includes the mineral like cobalt, this includes the mineral like nickel. These particular minerals are very important when we are talking about, let's say, the renewable energy or the green energy are concerned, or also the storage devices. So here the India and UK are going to collaborate. Apart from that, even there have been the center of excellence that have been established in the ISM Dhanbad. So that particular region is also in news, and that can also be asked from the examination perspective. Next is UK India critical mineral processing and the downstream collaboration. So simply it is talking about the critical mineral processing in that sense, and apart from that, downstream collaboration. So whenever we are talking about any specific processing, in that case there is two terms generally we are talking about. So first is the upstream, which includes the extraction of that, and then before manufacturing or before processing wala aspects is part of the upstream wala thing. And what is the downstream collaboration? Downstream collaboration will include the subsequent aspects, including the supply in the market. So they are collaborating upon the downstream collaboration in this particular context. Next is regarding the growth, trade and investment. So we have comprehensively talked about the comprehensive economic trade agreement, or simply we can say the free trade agreement between these two countries, which is going to boost the trade of goods, services, mobility of people, and later on it will also incorporate certain other things, including the professional recognition, like the degrees which are valid in India will also be valid in UK. So there has been discussion going on regarding this. Next is regarding the defense and security. So in the context of the defense and security, establishment of the regional maritime security center of excellence. So this is regarding the maritime policy of these two countries, because the convergence of these two countries is going on in the Indo-Pacific region. Generally, the target is to some extent common because of the disruptive policies of China. That's why these two countries are collaborating. And then there is another framework which is prominent in the Indian Ocean region, is Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, IPOI, which was initiated in 2019 as a non-treaty based organization. It was an open grouping, right? And in that, different countries are collaborating. The country which is having expertise in their own domain, they are collaborating with the other countries. So here, in the context of the regional maritime security center of excellence, India and UK are collaborating. Apart from that, government to government route for the supplying and the development of the lightweight multi-role missile system. Again, the defense related cooperation that is there. Further, in this particular sense, we can talk about the other partnership which is going on, for example, climate, energy, health and research. So one thing we have already seen regarding the technological support. So in the Critical Mineral Supply Chain Observatory, these two countries are cooperating in order to ensure the supply chain of the critical minerals, which are also important for the technological adaptation and the green technologies, right? So that is going to boost the climate and the associated aspects. Apart from that, there is the Climate Tech Startup Fund. And there is a MOU that have been signed between the UK government and the State Bank of India. So this is also important thing you can talk about from the perspective of climate, from the perspective of health, because health is also associated with climate. Next, regarding education, culture and P2P, which is the people to people participation and the partnership in between two countries, because this country, United Kingdom, has one of the largest diaspora from the perspective of India. ठीक है, तो इंडिया का बहुत बड़ा diaspora they are holding, which is roughly 1.8 to 1.9 million. And in that particular case, there are chances that many Indian students might not able to go to that particular place in order to get study. So there is a collaboration, and the UK ke many major institutes and the universities are now coming to India, and the collaboration has been signed, and these particular degrees are also getting the UGC's recognition. So Southampton University is already started functioning, and then there are many other universities including the Queen's University. These are now going to get established at different places, including the gift city. So there is the UK's university in India, and this is going to collaborate as far as the research, as far as the educational aspects are concerned, as far as the best practices are concerned. Lastly, regional and the multilateral cooperation. So generally, when we talk about this multilateral cooperation, the world order, which is changing right now, is also very important. And in this world order, one such major issue is that the countries like India, which are well-deserving countries, are not getting their true recognition. So that's why the countries like UK, which is also the permanent member at the UNSC, United Nations Security Council. Now, in that case, UK also supports India's bid for the permanent membership at the UNSC, and also along with that, the reform at the multilateral fora, whether it is IMF, whether it is World Bank. So these are the outcomes that we can talk about as far as the recent visit of the UK's Prime Minister to India is concerned. Now you can see it is comprehensive. It is not only including one thing. It includes economy, it includes political support, it includes cultural, it includes people to people, it includes the health, education in all domain. That's why the comprehensive strategic partnership. Clear hai? Now see, there can be question regarding this, whether it is regarding the FT or whether it is regarding the recent discussion between the Indian and the UK Prime Minister, which can be a role model in the context of signing the further FTAs with other countries, whether it is the US or the European Union. In that case also, this model can be adopted. Next article is regarding the China curbs the rare earth mineral export. Now, from the perspective of the UPSC GS paper 2, again, the international relations, bilateral, regional, and the global groupings agreement involving India or affecting the India's interests. So, when China is curbing the export of the rare earth elements, in that case, India's manufacturers are also going to get suffer if they are not able to find certain alternatives at the similar competitive level, right? Apart from that, GS paper 3, because it is going to impact the India's manufacturing process, and manufacturing specifically from the perspective of whether green technology, whether it is the a lot of the emerging technologies, whether it is the storage devices, whether it is defense related equipments, right? So the economy and the internal security can also get compromised or impacted. So the Indian economy issue related to planning, mobilization of resources, etc., is also concerned with this topic. Now, what is the context? देखो, China has not outrightly banned the export. They have played smartly in this particular context. They said कि भाई देखो, if the president of United States is putting on us certain pressure by creating certain tariff related things, then why not to retaliate that particular policy? And in that, what they are doing, they are saying that we are not banning the supply or the export of the rare earth element. What we are doing, we are controlling the export. In that case, if you are going to do the arm twist, we are also doing the similar kind of tactic that we can prevent your supply of the rare earth element. And in that particular case, obviously they would have to come to the same table to talk and negotiate a deal which might be favorable to China. So in that particular case, what is the context? That the mandate of for the government license. So जो exporters होंगे, whether they are the Chinese exporters or whether it is any foreign company which is established in China and doing the export of these particular rare earth element. So the China sourced rare earth element, so which is produced in China or processed in China, these rare earth element or minerals, and also the banned technologies which is banned by the government, and that is also based upon the rare earth element. For them, there is a need for the government license. That means you can equate it with the license, Raj, ki without license you can't export or you can't even go for collaborating regarding the technological support also. So this is the policy through which you will be controlling your exporters. Now in that, there will be ban or the control on extraction, magnet manufacturing, military related exports. So all of them comes under the ambit which prevents the supply of these particular technologies or the material to other countries where China do not want to supply it, right? Now, what are the rare earth element? Because we are talking about the export control, so we have to also discuss about what are the rare earth element and are they actually rare. So see, when we talk about their rarity as far as the earth crust is concerned, so the name to some extent is a misnomer. It's not like they are rare in the earth crust, they are in abundance. But the problem with that is कि in the extractable amount, that particular concentration is not available. So suppose karo in a specific region, if you are able to, let's say this is a gold mine and from here you can extract all these gold if you are going to dig into this particular region. Now, how the rare earth elements are spread? They are generally found with other elements and they are scattered like this and very, very small quantity. So see, when you are going to do the mining in this entire region, it will feel comparatively non-economical for you. And also in order to extract, there will be a lot of water wastage. There will be a lot of toxins that will be released, radioactive material that will be released out of this, and that will be harmful for the environment. And that's why many such countries are not extracting the rare earth element. India itself is the 5th largest reserve of it. But in that particular case also, India is not one of the largest supplier of this. Why? Because we are not processing this. Now, it is a set of 17 element. Okay, 17 element include the 15 elements of the lanthanide series and then scandium and the yttrium. These are the 17 element. Now the commonality of these particular elements are that these are important for the critical application. Whether you talk about defense related equipments, whether you talk about navigation devices, whether you talk about radar, or whether it is for the aircraft carriers, whether it is for green energy, whether it is for renewable energy, for all these things, there have been application of this. And even for the devices like the magnetometer and also development of the magnets, right? So the property, because UPSC can also ask regarding the property. So the properties, they are iron gray to silvery material. This is the color. And then a soft, malleable, ductile, and the chemically reactive. That means they are also reactive, they are malleable, they are ductile, they are soft in nature. So these are certain important properties. Now when we talk about significance, because when we are discussing a lot regarding the importance of this, the significance should be there, right? So they are critical for the high tech electronics, green energy, defense, advanced industrial application, emerging technologies, as we have already discussed. Now, talking about the challenges in order to extract them, we have discussed that, see, these are not rare. That means they are found in abundance, but the extractable quantity or extractable amount is not available at single place. That's why that is scattered. And for that, you need the technological upgradation, you need the intense mining, you need to put at stake your environmental laws and all. And that's why it is difficult. So the problem with this is, firstly, that China, which is roughly hosting, we can say, I'm giving you rough data, 60%, let's say, China ke paas reserve hai, roughly, even less than that. But when we talk about the extraction in the form of raw material, it is roughly 70% of the extraction is being controlled by China. But when we talk about processing, it is more than 90% is being controlled by China. That means this is the final output of the rare earth element that China is giving to the world. That's why the world is comparatively dependent on the Chinese policy as far as the rare earth element supply is concerned. And we have seen in the significance that these are very, very important from the perspective of critical applications, defense applications, and also from the modern technology perspective. That's why these are very, very important, yet the countries are dependent on China for majority of these rare earth elements. Now, talking about India, India holds the 5th largest reserve. We have the 5th largest reserve, but the problem with that is we are not extracting it too much. And recently the government, under this particular policy, National Critical Mineral Mission, came up with the recycling policy, jahan par we are going to collect the end of the life product, whether it is batteries or whether it is any other products which is having the rare earth element and the critical element, and we are going to extract that, and we are going to develop the supply chain where first hand mining, and apart from that, even from the recycling, we are going to incorporate, right? So India right now is more dependent on the recycling, wo bhi abhi comparatively at the initial stages it is there. Next is the extraction complexity. So first thing, in the extraction, you need the technology. The technology is needed, the advanced technology. Generally, many such countries do not possess that technology. Second thing is that there are certain issues regarding the harmful impact of this. So whether you talk about the environmental concern, whether you talk about the extraction complexity, because they are sometimes available with the other elements. Even apart from that, they are highly reactive also. Even apart from that, that is not economical, because that particular material is spreaded in a large region, right? So in that particular cases, whether it is extraction complexity or the environmental concerns, both are associated as the challenge of the rare earth element. And that's why only few countries possess the capabilities, and just maybe China is predominantly dominating the entire world. Now, what India has done in this particular context, we have discussed that the National Critical Mineral Mission, which was initiated in 2025, and in this particular context, what we are doing, we are talking about the mining of the rare earth element and the critical mineral, and also we are also talking about the recycling of that. So we are developing the supply chain. So the objective of this National Critical Mineral Mission is to ensure the supply chain, whether it is from mining to processing to supply, or whether it is from getting the material which are already developed or the things that are already developed, extract the critical minerals from that and then supply that. So reduce, reuse and recycle wala thing in this particular context, right? So this is regarding the National Critical Mineral Mission. Now, apart from that, Khanij Videsh India Limited, this is the organization which is doing collaboration with many such foreign entities, let's say with Argentina regarding the lithium. So the countries where there are certain specific minerals that are available, their public sector undertakings or their private institutions which are willing to cooperate. The Khanij Videsh India Limited is cooperating with them in order to get the knowledge also, in order to get the material also and minerals also, and in order to collaborate with them for the best practices. Lastly is the Mineral Security Partnership. So it is a US led initiative. In this particular partnership, it is to ensure the and attract the investment in the critical mineral supply chain. Now see, one thing is very, very clear. Till the point of time China is dominating this market, the countries will need to understand and get through the bully of China. Right. So that's why the countries are now trying to put forward the alternative. In that case, they are attracting the investment in the critical mineral supply chain. Here, there will be development, because in supply chain, from the extraction to the final selling, you are incorporating all these things. And that's why this particular thing is also very, very important in this regard. Clear? Hai? So this is regarding the rare earth element related control that was being done by China. Now, in the last news today that I had discussed the questions also, previous year question, I think on the 6th of October. You can just have a look. Those similar question again that UPSC had asked regarding the rare earth element in the previous year's question. Next is regarding the India unveiled the national red list roadmap to strengthen the biodiversity conservation. Now see, again, when we talk about the biodiversity or the conservation of biodiversity, it is very, very important, because the country like India, which is holding and hosting one of the largest biodiversities, it is one of the mega diverse country, and also apart from that, it is having both flora and fauna ke a lot of endemic species. That's why in order to assess its own biodiversity, work upon the conservation of these particular biodiversity thing is very, very important. Now, when we talk about the syllabus, GS paper 3, again, environment and ecology, biodiversity, say it is directly related. So it talks about the biodiversity conservation, environmental impact assessment, biodiversity, issues related to its conservation, right? So that's why it is very, very important. Now, talking about that, what we are doing right now. So there is a vision 2025-2030 is being developed, under which the national red list assessment of the India's flora and fauna. I'll tell you the context why we have to do this thing. See, the IUCN is the authority which is assessing the endangerment of any specific species, in general biodiversity, and then they are talking about that, see, this particular species is going to get threatened, this particular species is going to get extinct within this much year, because there have been decline in population. So they are doing the assessment, they are working upon that, then they are creating the network of those particular species. So they are doing good thing. But the problem with that is that within India, if we talk about the whether it is flora or whether it is fauna, very selective species are under the IUCN network. That means only a few species are getting the recognition and the conservation under the aegis of IUCN. What about other species? India is hosting one of the largest species diversity, right? So in that particular context, it is important that we should have the species directory for ourselves only. We should be having an idea, so that the species which might not have got recognition till this point of time should not get excluded, and they should be part of the India's vision of protecting the biodiversity. That's why we are preparing our own red list on the lines of obviously IUCN, but this will be our own data. This will be even way more comprehensive than the IUCN data. So the vision is to establish the nationally coordinated and the participatory red listing system, जहां पर there will be multiple stakeholders that will be involved in it, right? So ये 5 साल का initiative है. This is the 5-year initiative in order to assess the extinction risk of approximately 11,000 species. So in order, because see, once you do the assessment, then only you will get to know that how many species are getting threatened, how many species might get extinct within a few years. So that's why within this particular 5-year time frame, you are going to go for the species related understanding, which includes both 7,000 species of flora and 4,000 species of fauna. So flora and fauna both are part of it, because UPSC can ask the question that the national red list assessment only includes flora or only include fauna. The answer will be wrong. Now, what is the environmental significance of India? Because when the question will be asked from the India's perspective, in general, any question, you can include these pointers in your introduction to the answer. One of the world's 17 mega diverse country, that means India is holding one of the largest biodiversity. That's why it is also classified in the mega diverse country. Now, nearly 8% of global fauna flora and 7.5% of the global fauna it is holding. That means the flora or plant species, fauna or the animal species are available over here. 8% and 7.5. 4 biodiversity hotspots. So there are 4 major biodiversity hotspots where India का जो geographical location है that lies, and they are in all the corners. So for example, there are Himalayas in the northern part, ठीक है, extended till the eastern Himalayas. Then there is Western Ghat in the coastal region, near the coastal region of the Western India. Then there is Indo-Burma on the eastern part, and Sundaland in the contiguous region of the Southeast Asia, where the Nicobar Island is a contiguous region. So these are the important biodiversity hotspot from the perspective of India, which hold the significant amount of endemic species जो जहां उनका local है, or apart from that even the other biodiversity, right? Now we have discussed regarding this, that what is the exact issue with the IUCN list, that yes, it is doing the commendable job, but only 6.33% of Indian plant species and 7.2% of the animal species have been assessed for the global IUCN red list. That means roughly you can say more than 90% of the species are not even recognized in this particular context, that there is any kind of threat. जब वो recognize ही नहीं किया गया, so if there is extinction of that particular species, will there be any idea if we are not relying on our own set of data? So in that case, it is the very high time in order to develop that particular type of list. Now, what are the other details? Because generally the questions ka chances are very high that the prelims based question will be asked from this. Yes, means related pointers you can take down. Now, other important details includes that which of the organizations which are part of it. So there are lead agencies which include the Botanical Survey of India, BSI, and the Zoological Survey of India, which is ZSI. Both are very important organization. One is doing from the perspective of the plant, other is doing the commendable job from the perspective of animal diversity preservation, right? The concerned ministry is obviously going to be the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now, what will be the methodology in order to prepare and assess the diversity and also the threat to that, right? So the IUCN species conservation cycle जो include करता है, the similar pattern पे they are also going to do. For example, they are going to assess what will be the assessment of that species, then they will plan accordingly. कि suppose करो if there is a large number of that particular species got declined in a few years, then what should be the agenda, how we should be doing. So, and then that particular plan will be enacted in the form of act. Ultimately, if there is any kind of collaboration has to be done, public private partnership, global partnership, that will be done through the network. And lastly, there will be communication in this particular regard. That means the publishing of that list, so that the people should also be made aware regarding the conservation initiative, because the species cannot be only protected by government. It is the people also, the stakeholder, important stakeholder, which also have to take into consideration regarding the preservation of the biodiversity. Clear? Now, lastly, it also aligns with the framework like the Convention on the Biodiversity CBD, which originated as a initiative under the Earth Summit, and also the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which is an important biodiversity conservation related framework, right? So this is regarding the India's own red list regarding the species preservation. Now, how UPSC asked the question regarding this, ki how does the biodiversity vary in India? How is the Biological Diversity Act of 2002 helpful in the conservation of flora and fauna? Simple question, appears to be simple, but it needs the factual awareness. It needs to have an idea regarding the Biological Diversity Act, how it is preserving the conservation of the flora and fauna, like the conservation, then the utilization in that particular sense, sustainable utilization and all, right? So this is the previous year question that you can relate. Next article is regarding the surrogacy age bar is not retrospective. That was ultimately said by the Supreme Court. Now, from the perspective of the UPSC examination, since surrogacy is a topic which is included as a part of the social justice or also the part of the society, because it also highlights regarding the conditions of women and also deals with the family related things. So that's why even you can put it in GS1 society or GS2 from the social justice perspective. Apart from that, since government is doing the policy making and welfare policies, so polity, governance and the social justice, government policies and the intervention for the development of various sectors and the issues arising out of their design, implementation, issues related to women. This is very, very important. Now, when we talk about surrogacy, since the article may there is no specific mention of surrogacy, what this particular process is. So, surrogacy is basically the process in which there is a couple who want to have a child, but in that particular case, that particular couple is facing certain medical conditions because of which they are not able to have any child. And in that case, there is through the IVF process, that particular the sperm and the eggs are getting combined and then they are implanted to a womb of any other lady. That lady is known as the surrogate, and this entire process is known as the surrogacy. Now, who will be the biological child of that particular children? It will be the parents whose the sperm and the eggs are being utilized in this particular process. Okay? So, there may be question regarding the biological parents, so they will be the biological parent. Now, the surrogate is just carrying that particular child in the form of embryo and then give the birth to that particular child. Now, there were many such issues that were related to the surrogacy because many a time it was commercially exploited. Ki bhai, those who are wealthy people who are utilizing in the form of renting the womb. So, in that cases, in 2021, when the Surrogacy Regulation Act was there, it prevented the commercial surrogacy. Means for the monetary exchange, you will not be allowed to do this, and there will be only altruistic mode of surrogacy that will be allowed. Okay? So, that is there. Now, in this particular regulation act, there have been certain changes that were done, right, regarding the age related bar, regarding the type of the surrogacy that is allowed, and hence there were certain issues that emerged after that, because certain people might have opted for surrogacy before the implementation of this act, but in between that act arrived and now there are certain difficulties. That's why certain couples went to the courts and then they wanted to seek justice. Now, the court has set certain exemptions. So, they have decided a cutoff date like 25th January 2022, because from this date, this act, Surrogacy Regulation Act, was implemented. देखो, enact हो गया. After that, from this date, it was implemented, 25th January 2022. So, after this date, if there is any surrogacy, that have to follow this particular procedure of this Regulation Act. But before that, if the process was initiated, the embryos were created and then frozen before the commencement of the act or this concerned date, in that case, you are eligible. That was held by the court, and this was affirmed by the Supreme Court कि भाई अगर पहले आपने initiate किया है, so your process is okay. You are not going to get any issue with respect to this. Now, in this, there is to some extent reaffirmation that the right to have the reproductive choices, which is also the part of the right to liberty and privacy, personal liberty and privacy. It was held by the Puttaswamy case also, and later on also it was held by the Supreme Court. So, in that, it is also the part of Article 21, which is an ever evolving article of the Indian Constitution. Now, what were mentioned in the Surrogacy Regulation Act of 2021? So, it prevents the commercial exploitation of womb. Like for the monetary exchange, you can't exploit someone's vulnerability. That's why it prevents the exploitation and promotes the ethical and only the altruistic surrogacy. Now, apart from that, the commercial surrogacy is strictly prohibited and the punishable as per the Surrogacy Regulation Act. Now, there are certain other things which are mentioned as part of this particular act. There are certain conditionalities in terms of the age. So, when we talk about the couple who want to opt for the surrogacy, whose sperm and the eggs are going to be utilized, there are certain conditions. For example, ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई भी जाके utilize कर सकता है process. That couple should be married first, and also for the Indian couple, the wife should be aged between 23 to 50 years. So, there is a bar of age. 23 to 50 is the range, and for the husband it is 26 to 55 years age. That means within this particular age bracket, if you are lying, in that case only you will be eligible for this surrogacy. Now, even apart from that, there is another conditionality that there should not be any surviving biological or the adopted child. So, there should not be any biological or adopted child surviving. In that case only you can opt for this. This is the first condition. Second is for the eligibility of the surrogate mother who is going to carry that particular embryo, and in which that particular embryo, the sperms and egg combination will be implanted. So, in that case, there will be the married woman. Now, in that case also, the married women it also includes the widow or it includes also the divorced women. But that married women should be there with at least one child of her own. So there should be one child of her own, and apart from that, the age bracket is 25 to 35. Why it is not kept below that or above that? In order to prevent again any kind of commercially exploited surrogacy related things. Now, regarding the child, if after surrogacy there is the child that is getting born, so in that case it is deemed to be the biological child of the intending couple. That means ऐसा नहीं है कि surrogate is going to get certain rights over that. It will be the biological child of that particular parent. So this is the process of surrogacy, and these are certain kind of changes that were introduced by this. So what is the Supreme Court stand? Supreme Court stand is that if the process was initiated before that, the retrospective application will not be there for this particular regulation. The government wanted the retrospective application. The Supreme Court said no. There are certain couples who might be suffering because of this, and that's why the retrospective application will not be there for this. Now the PYQs, again, see, there are certain type of technological terms from the science and tech perspective or from the perspective of any other subjects. These particular terms can be asked. So for example, in the context of recent advances in the human reproductive technology, pro-nuclear transfer is used for. So you have to comment the answer, that what should be the answer of this particular question. This is a UPSC previous year. The next article is regarding the Wildlife Protection Kerala Amendment Bill 2025, which marks the tension in the federal environment governments. Now, last time when we had discussed that Kerala cabinet has approved for the laying of this particular bill in the state legislature. Now this bill has been enacted and now it is pending in front of the president, because see, there is already a existing central government act. Now in that case, if there is any amendment that state want to do as far as their own area mein this particular act is concerned, so in that case, if the president will allow, in that case only that will be applied. Otherwise, the central law will prevail, right? Now, from the perspective of general studies, GS paper 2, polity, governance, function, responsibilities of the union and state, issues, challenges pertaining to the federal structure, because it is the Kerala have given the argument that center is not working upon the recommendation. They have said that there are a lot of man and animal conflict are happening. Wild boars are creating a lot of havoc and issue, whether it is on agricultural field or whether it is in the public places. And in that's why we want the right to culling or right to killing them in general. That's why the center was not working upon that, and center has not responded that much. And now the Kerala government have put forward an act and they want to amend this particular Wildlife Protection Act. So from the perspective of GS3, again, environment and ecology, conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, it is important. Now, Wildlife Protection Act Kerala Amendment Bill of 2025. Now see, there were certain things that were introduced in this. So it is enabling the chief wildlife warden. See, one such issue with respect to the man-animal conflict or the human-animal conflict in this, that there are sometimes what happens that the animal enters into the human territory and then they are trying to encroach upon that. They are trying to put harm or pose harm to the human property, human life, or the other associated thing like the agriculture and all. So that's why the chief wildlife warden is now being authorized in order to authorize immediate action in order to prevent these scenarios. What will be the immediate action? It will be killing, tranquilizing, capturing and translocating. It can be anything based upon the need. So whether if there is any specific animal is going to create any havoc, let's say wild boar and all, so in that case they can order killing, tranquilizing, capturing or translocating that. Apart from that, even the state government, which was not previously allowed to declare any specific species as vermin, to declare the species listed in the Schedule 2 as the vermin. Now Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 species of the under the Wildlife Protection Act enjoys the higher degree of protection. Now Schedule 2 के species को अगर आप vermin declare कर रहे हो, that means from the higher degree of protection to allowed for killing वाले category में you are putting. That's why the center was also not allowing this particular thing, and that's why the currently Section 62 of the Wildlife Protection Act provides the power to the union government regarding this. And in that case also Schedule 1 and Part 2 of the Schedule 2 ke animals are not allowed to put in the vermin category because of their endangerment because of their importance, right? So this is regarding certain changes that were introduced in this, and Chief Wildlife Warden is basically provided with a lot of power as part of this particular act. Now, what are the constitutional provision or the provision as far as the federal aspects of the environmental governance are concerned. Now see, Kerala government asked central government to act upon that. Central government said that dekho, this is going to impact the biodiversity and this is going to impact the species and also may lead to the poaching and many other things which might be leading to the illegal market development. That argument was also okay. So in that case, they had not worked upon that thing, and now the Kerala government have enacted an act, and now that is pending in front of the president. So in that particular cases, suppose karo, in that particular cases, what generally the scenario is that there might be a tussle between the state government and the central government. Now see, the forest and the protection of wildlife, animal and the birds that are listed under the list 3, which is the concurrent list. That means both the union and the state can make the laws. Now if there is any union law, if union has made law, for enactment of the state law and prevailing over union, there is a need for the presidential assent, right? So presidential assent is there, then only the state ka amendment will prevail over the union law. But then after that, what union can do? Union can make a law again and can get the presidential assent, then again the union law will prevail. So this is the way the union government has comparatively more power over the concurrent list subject. Talking about the Wildlife Protection Act, again it is the pioneer or one of the most important act as far as the protection of the biodiversity in India is concerned. So that was created in order to protect the biodiversity, in order to give certain degree of protection to the important species as far as the Indian biodiversity is concerned. So now this particular act was enacted by the union government. Since this wildlife is part of the concurrent list, so the power are also available in order to regulate these particular things in their own sphere. But yes, the central act, which is the Wildlife Protection Act, which is a very important act in order to protect the biodiversity. This is it regarding the important articles that we had to discuss for today. After that, let's discuss about the places in news, which is the Australia. Now, Australia, we have discussed it multiple times. The capital city is Canberra, right? Now, in the context, what is the news in this particular regard? So, India and Australia have inked the key defense agreement to strengthen the operational partnership between two armed forces. In simple terms, both countries' armed forces are now going to cooperate in order to boost or strengthen their defense-related cooperation. Now, when we talk about Australia, see, its geography is important, because when we talk about this is a continent itself, right? So it is the smallest continent, but it is also a country, so it is a continent country. And when we talk about the area of this, it is the 6th largest country. So it is the smallest continent and the 6th largest country. When we talk about geography, if you can see this, so you can see there is a Indian Ocean on the on the western side of it. Then there is a Timor Sea. Just a moment. So here it is Timor Sea, which is on the northwestern side. There is Arafura Sea on the northern side. Here it is the Gulf of Carpentria. So it is the Gulf of Carpentria, right? So this is the Gulf of Carpentria. Then apart from that, it is the Coral Sea. And here there is the structure of coral reef, one of the largest global coral reef structure that is available over here. Okay. Here it is the Great Dividing Range in this region. It is the Great Dividing Range, right? So here, just a moment, yeah. So here it is the Great Dividing Range. Now, when we talk about the other seas or the water bodies, there is the Tasman Sea on the southeastern part. Then apart from that, there is also the Indian Ocean on the southern part, but then there is Great Australian Bight over here. So यहाँ पर there is Great Australian Bight that is available, right? The Tropic of Capricorn passes through this. So again, another important information regarding this. Apart from that, you can also see regarding this that there is a Bass Strait. So between the Tasmania and the Australia, there is this particular region or the water body which is known as the Bass Strait. Talking about the geographical feature, the roughly 1/3 of the Australia's territory is the desert territory. There are multiple deserts. There is the Great Victorian Desert in the southern side. Then there is the Great Sandy Desert. There is Great Gibson Desert is there. Then there is Tanami Desert and there is Simpson Desert. So in this particular region, mainly the territory is the desert territory. Apart from that, there are mountain ranges also. We have talked about that. Here it is the Great Dividing Range, and apart from that, there is the McDonnell Range which is available over here. So McDonnell Range and the Great Dividing Range. इसके अलावा prominent rivers में there is Murray Darling Basin that is there. So these are the important feature, because whenever a location is there in news, sometimes the physical and the other geographical feature nearby to it can be asked. So that's why it is important to know and have some idea, because if that is covered again and again, that means it might be important from the examination. Now let's see certain other quick updates quickly. So the first in this is regarding the district judge appointment. So recently what has happened, that the Supreme Court held that the judicial officers, which are the judicial officers, judicial magistrate and all, those combining experience of 7 years, because sometime what happens, that there is existing advocate, they have done certain practice, certain number of years they have practiced, and then they have entered upon the office of the judicial officer. So in that case also, the combined experience of 7 years as an advocate and in service will be eligible for the direct recruitment as the district judges. So under the Article 233 of the Indian Constitution, it provides power, it permits to the advocate जिनका practice 7 year plus है, in order to get eligible for the district judge का appointment, right? So now it is also clarified that even those people who are in service are also eligible, who are in the service as the judicial officer having combined experience of 7 year are also eligible. Now extended the criteria of 7 year to the judicial officer as well. Who is appointing the district judges? The governor in consultation with the concerned high court is appointing the district judges. The next article is regarding the Saksham. So Indian Army initiated the procurement of indigenously developed Saksham, which is the situational awareness for the kinetic soft and hard kill asset management. Simply, the soft and hard kill is generally used in the context of the UAV prevention. Generally, when the drone or the UAV is coming, there may be even soft kill, there may be even hard kill. Means you are directly hitting with certain kind of like equipments, maybe the gunshot or maybe any other thing, that will be the hard kill. Soft kill, maybe you might be deneutralizing or neutralizing that particular object through certain kind of technological things, maybe laser or maybe through certain kind of hacking techniques, right? So in that case, right? So counter unmanned aerial vehicle systems, UAV systems, grid system, right? So this is the Saksham. Now what is this? It is a modular high-end command and control system which is operating on the army database. So army data network पर based है. So based upon that particular data network, it is going to get a lot of data regarding the geography, coordinates and all. Apart from that, it is going to detect, track, identify and neutralize the hostile drones and the UAVs, unmanned aerial systems in the real time in the tactical battlefield space. Now this term is right now going in very much prominence, because this tactical battlefield space is generally the space which is very near to Earth's surface, in the atmosphere only. So extending up to roughly 3000 meter from the ground surface. This is the tactical battle space jahan par mainly drones and all related equipments are being deployed. Now, who is developing it? Who has developed it? Bharat Electronics Limited, BEL, have developed. Next is regarding Sistante longiscapa. Okay. So this is the species of the a plant species, right? So scientists have studied the resilient flower species Sistante longiscapa in the child's extreme arid Atacama Desert to identify the flower trait that allows it to survive in the severe water scarcity and the temperature extreme. Simply, it is a flowering species. Now, you might have seen the cactus and all, right, which is also thriving in the, like the thorny bushes, which is thriving in the desert region. Now, they are also surviving in the extreme arid condition. Now, Atacama ke bare mein when we talk about, it is available in the western part of Chile. So, when you see the map of South America, in the South America, you will see a coastal strip nearby this particular mountain ranges, and on the western side of that, there you will observe the Atacama Desert, which is one of the driest deserts of the world, right? And in that, there is a flowering species which is known as the Sistanthe longiscapa, right? So the scientists are observing that how it is getting the nutrition, how it is doing the photosynthesis, right? So it is native to the Atacama Desert child, also locally known as the Peta de Guanaco, right? And it is the annual hub. That means it is completing its entire cycle from birth to death within 1 year or the 1 season, right? Life cycle including the flowering and after the sporadic rainfall. Now there is a process which is mentioned regarding the metabolism, which is also known as crassulacean acid metabolism. What this particular process is, let's see, in order to perform the photosynthesis related activity, you will need carbon dioxide. So the fixing of the carbon dioxide in the form of the organic acids is being done by this particular metabolic process. So that's why this process is important, and that can be asked, like how the plants which are surviving in the extreme conditions or extreme arid conditions get the metabolism. So this is through this process which is leading the carbon dioxide to get stored in the form of the organic acids. Next is regarding the Times Higher Education World University Ranking. So this ranking for 2026 has been released, like the other reports. For example, there is QS, okay, university ranking and all. Times also released. So Times Higher Education magazine is releasing this report annual basis pe. So it assess universities. Obviously, there will be certain parameters like the teaching, research, knowledge, maybe patents, transfers, then international outlook based performance. There are 18 parameters or indicators. Now the top rank consecutively for the 10th consecutive years, University of Oxford. So the Oxford University got the first rank in this, and in India the leading university is IISc, Indian Institute of Science, which is in the Bangalore. So it is at the range of 201 to 250 band, right? So that means in 200 there is no Indian university. Next is regarding undersea cable. So few days back we have seen that after the Houthi attack there was damage to the undersea cable. Now the context is that Meta platform has selected Mumbai and the Visakhapatnam as the landing sites for the undersea cable project. Waterworth. So Waterworth project, Waterworth related to what? Undersea cable. Apart from that, which location selected? Mumbai and Visakhapatnam. Now what are these undersea cable? These are the fiber optics cable. For example, let's assume that you have to lay down the sea के अंदर there is certain kind of cables you have to lay down. So here what you are going to do, you are going to lay down the cables like this. Now these are the fiber optics cable jahan se there will be light in the form of the information carrying thing that is passes, and then this moves within this cable and reaches to the destination. Now how the light is guided in order to pass through this? So there is a concept of the total internal reflection based upon which this fiber optics network works. Just have an idea about the total internal reflection. This is a basic concept, right? So the fiber optics cable is being utilized. It transmits the information, enables the worldwide communication. So whether it is internet, whether it is data transfer, for all these things, these undersea cables are being utilized. When we talk about some kind of data, so 90% of the global data flow, 80% of the world trade flow, because trade may there is also the income related aspects come. So that trade flow and also the $10 trillion of the financial transactions passes through these cables. That's why any damage to these cables is going to cripple the economies also. This is very, very important. Next is regarding the rogue planet. So the astronomer have recently discovered that the young rogue planet that is actively accreting the material from its surrounding, right? So in that case, what is rogue planet? That concept is important. So this is basically a planetary body which is ejected by the entire मतलब जो इनका सोलर सिस्टम था regarding that particular the star system, वहां से इसे हटा दिया गया और it is ejected from that original system. It has drifted outside that and now it is no more doing the kind of orbiting around that particular star. So it is randomly orbiting, right, and freely moving in the interstellar space. It is expelled during even the early time pe or maybe later point of time pe if there is any kind of orbital instability. So it's not like only at the early stage it is happening. It can even happen at the later stage because of the any kind of anomaly in the orbital instability. Chaotic stage of the planetary system formation, but ejection can happen later on. So next is it does not orbit around any star, obviously. It helps to understand the planetary formation, system dynamics and interstellar matter interaction, because comparatively you can consider that these are raw. These does not generally follow the exact what star system or solar system is like, because they were ejected prematurely out of that their particular system, right? Next is regarding the Nobel Prize in the literature. So Hungarian writer Laszlo, then Kresna Horkey won the Nobel Prize in literature. Sorry for the pronunciation if any, but this particular personality from Hungary got the literature ka Nobel Prize. Now he was born in the personality born in 1954 in Guala, Hungary, right? The major works includes, because sometimes when there is a literature के लिए, it can include some literature works. So Set and Tango, right? Then the Melancholy of the Resistance and War. These are the prominent works. Generally UPSC कभी कभी पूछ लेता है works के बारे में भी. Now this the Nobel Prize was established by Alfred Nobel, right? 1895. First Nobel Prize 1901. Certain important factual information administered by Nobel Foundation in Stockholm, Sweden. 6 categories में दिया जाता है: peace, physics, chemistry, medicine, literature and economy. Today it was awarded for peace, right? Obviously president did not got this, right? Last is regarding the textile PLI scheme. So the Ministry of Textile notifies the major amendments in the PLI scheme. Now the production linked incentive, not only for textile, it is for different manufacturing process, even for many other things, for the technological things. So why it is being provided? It is the production linked incentive. Jitna aap production kar rahe ho, the amount of incentive will be provided to you. So it is based upon the PLI in the textile wala scheme, right? So the what it has changed, it has expanded the eligible products, number of products को increase किया, lowering the investment. कम इन्वेस्टमेंट वाले भी PLI के लिए now eligible है, and also the turnover criteria. That means now it had made the PLI related application comparatively simple. Which is the concerned ministry? Ministry of Textile. Now why this particular PLI scheme for the textile is needed? In order to promote the man-made fiber or the fabric apparels, right? And the textile, technical textile को भी मिला के. Now till when this incentive is going to be there? 2021 to 30, which is there, and incentives payable for 5 years. Now implemented by Empower Group of Secretariat constituted by DPIIT, right? So this is regarding the PLI schemes. So with this, we have concluded the News Today discussion of the 10th of October. There were certain important news we have discussed in comprehensive detail, certain conceptual things. They were discussed in the needed details, right? So after this, now try to solve the question which are on the screen, and also go to the Vision IAS Digital Current Affairs portal in order to access other features also. So I hope whatever I have explained is clear to you. Thank you very much.